EVs are piling up at dealerships. I made a video last month discussing that topic. Now, 1 month later, sales have flatlined for EVs while gas models continue to rise. Let's get into it. We're starting on automotive news today. US EV share has gone flat at 7.1%. And this is after 2 years of sharp growth, and EV market share has stayed flat at the 7.1% from January to June. Tesla can't handle the burden alone, and those Tesla buyers maybe you already have a Tesla at this point, and the other people considering are just not ready to buy a Tesla or any other EV on the market. And stay to the end because I have a spreadsheet, go figure, talking about how the volume is changing for EVs in my area month over month, and what are the prices looking like. If they flatlined, meaning they're not growing market share, you think those prices would be coming down. We'll see if that's the case at the end. So in January, with the 7.1% share, EVs sold 87,708 out of 1.24 million light vehicles. And through the first half of the year, ending in June, still at 7.1% with a total of 546 plus thousand registrations out of 7.6 million. If we look back in 2021, EV market share was 3.1%. Then in 2022, it grew to 5.6%. So from 2021 to 2022, EVs grew 80% year over year. If it stays at 7.1% this year, EVs have only grown 27% year over year. Holy cow. So it dropped off 80% growth from 21 to 22 to possibly around 25% growth from 2022 to 2023. Things are cooling off fast. Tesla still has about 60% of the US EV market share. Chevy, well, it comes in at number 2, at least in terms of individual brands. If you add up like the Koreans, for example, they probably outpace Ford and Chevy. But the thing is, Chevy just announced that the Bolt will continue with production until December. And they also just mentioned, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, that the Bolt will get a second generation. And this is great news because we need affordable EVs, and we'll talk more about Stellantis's struggle with the affordability EVs. You know, since that plant that they currently build them in here in America, I think it's in Michigan, is going to be used for massive, expensive EV pickup trucks, I would assume that the Bolt goes to Mexico to be produced down there to reduce costs, to make it more profitable here in the United States. All right, Ford, and we're going to talk a lot about Ford because their volume is increasing at lots, and I think it's largely due to the lack of demand of Ford EVs. Hyundai sold 20,000 so far, BMW 18,000, no Toyota in here, no Honda in here. Honda doesn't have an EV right now. Nissan, we have the Leaf and the Aria, and we'll talk a lot about these brands actually because we're going to break out individual sales. I actually don't have any BMW, but I'll probably have to add them in before we get to the spreadsheet. Quoting Jessica Caldwell from Edmunds, she's saying it seems like early adopter demand has nearly been met, and the EV market will have to start targeting a more mainstream consumer, which is challenging given the price points of vehicles available and the lack of charging infrastructure. Again, there's just too many cons for electric vehicles for the average consumer. They can't just fill up whenever they want to with a gas station that's on every single corner here in the United States. They have to go out of their way to fast charge if they don't have a charging port at home. Also, something that we don't talk about a lot because so many of us live in warm climates nowadays is EV range in cold weather is abysmal. And we know EVs will drop in range. It's hard to say because it depends on how cold it is, the type of battery technology, etc. If it has a heat pump, but it can drop around 35 miles or 35%, but it can drop around 35% in range in the winter. And so you just spent all this money on your car and now your range has plummeted, which really is not a good thing to get stranded in a blizzard or just freezing temperatures. Carl Brower from IC Cars has some pretty grim news here for EVs. There are more car companies chasing potential EV buyers than ever before, and there aren't enough buyers to clear the growing EV backlog at dealerships. At some point, even low prices and crazy incentives won't matter if the average person isn't comfortable buying an EV. He goes on to say that he expects EV production cutbacks by automakers and downward adjustments to sales forecasts. EV inventory is also running about double the market average at 103 days supply. EV incentives right now are about $4,000, which are about double compared to gasoline cars. The average EV transaction price in June was $53,000 plus compared to $48,000. So crazy how expensive cars have gotten, guys. So $48,000. Now, there are a lot of pickup trucks being sold that are very high priced ticket items. So that's really going to inflate this $48,000 figure here. What's crazy about these EV prices, in January, the average was $61,000. In June, it fell to $53,000 thanks to Tesla's price cuts, and all the price cuts have affected the other manufacturers, and some of them are adjusting their prices, some are not. And the market is also just playing its natural course here, where dealers are going to have to lower prices lower than MSRPs, and that's happening pretty much with every single EV at this point. So one of the biggest hurdles for EVs is pricing. Stellantis' $25,000 EV price target is clashing with the UAW's demands. That is the union that represents all these automotive workers. And the thing is, there's negotiations going on right now to increase the benefits, increase the salaries of the workers, which is great. Like, I want that for the people working there. However, as the consumer, I don't want that because it will jack up the prices of cars, and Stellantis and anyone else that has unionized workers probably won't be able to make these $25,000 EVs unless they import them from China. Watch my video yesterday that I made on the Chinese market, really expanding. They're now the #1 automotive exporter in the world. Quality control is different than I would say most other EV automakers, but they're finding ways to import those vehicles into America as well. So don't be surprised if you also see Stellantis and other automakers, traditional automakers, import Chinese-made EVs in the near future to make sure that they can saturate the lower price points in order to increase their EV volume. So head on over to the spreadsheet. I want to address the elephant in the room here. Hybrid volume in my area here in Southwest Florida is about 4,000 units. Battery electric vehicle units are about 3,500. So they've almost caught up in availability at the lots, but we know battery electric vehicles aren't moving at the pace of hybrids. In fact, they're moving twice as slow, if not slower. So the revolving door of hybrid inventory is much faster than we have with battery electric. But just look at how many BEVs are out there in the market. I don't have July volume of all these models, but I want to start with the Mustang Mach-E because in my area, there are by far more Mustang Mach-E's than any other EV. And I don't have Tesla in here because I don't have dealerships, so it's hard for me to calculate that data. But 576 Mustang Mach-E's sitting on dealerships, and the lowest price is $41,000, almost $42,000. Okay. Ioniq 5 is the next vehicle, but look at the volume drop for the Ioniq 5. They've been able to move some metal here. It was 547,000 units in July, and now a month later, it's dropped about 200 units. A part of that is the sale price of these dropping. So if you just look, we've dropped almost $2,000 on lowest priced available Ioniq 5. So yeah, those things are going to be moving more and more just due to the low pricing, but there is no EV tax credit on them. So the best way to get these vehicles is probably to lease them. And I think leasing electric vehicles makes a lot of sense because there's going to be new battery technology before you know it. There's going to be a new generation of EVs before you know it that are more efficient, that are just more desirable, they charge faster, etc. So that's why I think a lot of these battery electric vehicles are piling up at dealerships. The early adopters have already bought in, or they're buying Teslas. And even the Tesla pace has dropped off as well because they've kind of saturated the Tesla buying market as well. One of the big reasons why I'm keeping this data is I want to see what is going to happen with the EV prices. If the initial consumers truly have dropped off, the price should keep going down. at least listed prices. I don't have any available data for like average transaction prices for a specific model. That would be pretty handy. But yeah, anyways, let's keep moving. Volkswagen ID4. I don't know what's going on if my data was wrong for July, but it is their volume has swelled massively. So they've really increased production volume, but look at due to the swelling of volume and lack of demand, look at what's happened. Prices have come down about $4,000 here from July to August for lowest priced ID4. So I think mid to upper 30s is going to be the best prices you're going to find for most mainstream EVs. Kia EV6 volume has stayed relatively the same here. Pricing has gone down though. We see a price drop of about $1,000 here. Ioniq 6, brand new vehicle to the market. I didn't have any data for last month, but look how many are out there on the market and look how low the prices are already. 38,150. Now I have to keep you guys in mind here that the Ioniq 5 here and this Ioniq 6 and the Kia EV6, those are all their entry level battery packs. So the EV6, at least in my area, is not a good deal compared to the Ioniq 5 or the Ioniq 6 EVs. F-150 Lightning volume continues to swell. Prices continue to go down. We're up about 30 units compared to last month just sitting on lots, and the lowest price has dropped about $1,000 plus here. Nissan Ariya, really like the EV. It's just kind of expensive, but look at the deals you can find. Well, this deal got snapped up last month of $37,000. And I think it's a good vehicle for that money. I don't know if I would pay much more than $40,000 for Nissan Ariya, but this is the base model here. And it only has around 220 miles of range, something like that. But that competes well with the base model Hyundai and Kia products, as well as the standard BZ4X from Toyota, the Lexus RZ, as well as the Subaru Solterra, which is somewhere on this list. All right, moving on to Audi's models. Very expensive. I can't recommend the Q8 e-tron. Handles great. The materials feel cheap on the inside. The styling's great. Watch my review on it. But they just updated it for 2024, so it is a better vehicle than before, but it's still really expensive. Q4 e-tron, volume is going down here, but it looks like they've had to lower the prices in order to move these Q4 e-trons. All right, Subaru Solterra volume is a little bit lower month over month. Prices have stabilized in the mid 40s. So it looks like they're actually selling for the mid 40s, maybe capitalizing on those Subaru buyers. Subaru, just if you missed my video on it, I think I did a video on it. Yeah, so is a video talking about how Subaru is becoming more like Toyota. They're going to be ramping up EV production massively by the end of this decade. And the big part of that is because they know they're losing their customers to Tesla. They have a huge subset of data that says a lot of Subaru buyers also own Teslas, and they're missing out. Absolutely, they're missing out on that piece of the pie. The Solterra is not a good enough EV. Convince those Subaru buyers to stay in-house for their EV. All right, XC40, I really like this EV. It's really fast. It's like a sleeper car for sure. Prices here have started actually to go up, it looks like, even though the volume has dropped. So maybe this price here got a lot of these 102 volume out the door, and the price volume is starting to regulate here because they met that demand for the previous price point. It looks like GV70s are now being sold in my area. When I reviewed it, they weren't being sold here, but I can find them within a 100-mile radius of where I live now. And they're not cheap, $67,000. It is a fantastic electric vehicle, but at $67,000, I mean, I'd probably save 10, 15 grand and get the 2.5 turbo, which is a really good GV70 as well. But man, this thing is fast as the dickens. It was like 3.8, 0 to 60. The Prius. So Prius is not an EV. I just kind of put it in here for perspective because I'm waiting on a Prius. Who knows when I'll get one. More specifically, a Prius Prime. The volume has not improved that much. There's about 14 more of sitting on lots, and the prices are about the same for the entry level LE model. BZ4X, there's only 30, so there's actually way more Subaru Solterras out there on the market, but the price tag is nearly identical to the Solterra. The Genesis G80 sedan, one of the best EVs I've also driven. Prices have come down or are coming down. They've sold a couple of them month over month, but it looks like they're still ridiculously expensive. But man, is that a good EV, but just really, really expensive. Lexus RZ, volume is improving here. Tripled the volume from 5 to 15. But yeah, prices, well, this price is actually not off of MSRP. It's just a lower priced model that's now available. So these look to be selling for MSRP. They're taking advantage of those early adopter Lexus buyers who are loyal to Lexus. They don't want to buy any other EV for customer service and quality reasons. And they're going to be probably selling these in low volume to keep the demand up, to keep those price tags up as well as long as possible. Prius Prime, these things are vaporware in my area. There are 3 in my, oh, I wanted to show this to you. Check this out. Check out this markup. $113,000 plus for a Prius Prime XSE. It's not even XSE Premium. The MSRP is $3,700 on it. Like, that is my comedy for the day, absolutely. And I'll probably add to this list like the BMW as I go along, as well as other EVs. I want to track month over month volume as well as the prices, see if we're getting lower prices as these inventories swell, especially for the Mustang and some of these high-digit vehicles like the i84, the Ioniq 5, etc. So EV market, it's a lot of fun for me to talk about. It is not going as well as a lot of these manufacturers have anticipated. And it's largely due to too many downsides to EVs. High sticker price, charging infrastructure, charging speed, lack of EV tax credits at the moment, cold weather performance. So that's 5 things. Lack of model diversity. There's just not that much volume out there compared to other normal gas models. And the future upside of EVs with new technology coming in just a few years from now is adding fuel to the fire. I guess, yeah, I guess they're all combustible too. Just about all of them, they start fires. So that's not good. I know gas cars do as well, but when we have EV technology and battery technology that is essentially fire resistant, more so than what we currently have, I think you'll see also a small percentage of people get in because they're safer than what they currently are now. But there's just a lot of drawbacks for EVs. I like EVs. I don't want to own any current EVs in the current market. They're just too expensive and they have too many drawbacks. And I would have early adopters remorse. Absolutely. Spending too much money for a product that will be outdated in just a couple years. I know that's just the way technology is, but man, I'll just keep waiting. Like, I can easily wait for solid state batteries to make EVs like untouchable. Let me know down below what is keeping you from buying an EV, or what has brought you which model and which technology has brought you to buy your EV as well, because I know a lot of people who have EVs and I think it's a great purchase for certain people out there, just not all people for all the reasons I already listed. So anyways, maybe I'll see you guys in a month from now. In September, we'll revisit to check out the volume as well as the prices of these vehicles. I'll catch you in the next one. Thank you for watching. Smash a like button if you enjoyed it. Have a great day in peace.